Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Help for HD TV. Today, we are going to be talking with Lauren Holder, and we are going to be talking about swallowing. We're going to do a couple interviews over this month about people and eating, swallowing, calories, recipes, things to kind of launch off our cookbook that will be available by the end of the year. I would like to introduce everyone to Lauren Holder, who is going to talk to us a little bit about swallowing and different things that she went through with her father. Welcome to the show, Lauren.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and let's start by you just telling us about some of the issues that your dad had and what were the first signs of you noticing he was having trouble swallowing.
Yeah, so for us, it was actually really weird because my dad had a multitude of issues going on, and so we didn't realize how much the swallowing was actually affected in the beginning. And then he started not being able to enjoy his favorite snacks. We noticed that he was doing more of the sound and like trying to get it to stay up. And we noticed more just choking on thin liquids when he was drinking something. And so it was made it really hard for him. And so it took us a little bit though to figure out because of his other issues, because one day he'd be fine and the next he was having issues.
So I know that as we've talked a little bit about your journey with taking care of dad, you've mentioned your aunt and how helpful she has been through this process. If you could just share with us maybe her profession and some of the tips, the tricks, the ideas that she gave you to help manage the changes that were going on with your dad.
Yeah. So my Aunt Amy, she is my dad's sister and she's gene negative. She tested his youngest sister. She is a longtime speech therapist. She's a professor at Western Carolina University. And when my dad started experiencing problems, actually before he did, she really started showing me some things that we could do. Like she was a huge proponent of getting swallowing evaluations as soon as possible to see what they were saying and for them to take x-rays and do all of the studies because their pathologists are going to be able to see everything better. They have specific studies and ways to look for things. They're trained to look for different ways people are swallowing. She encouraged me to go ahead and get those early so we could stay on top of it. And then she just, as we started seeing issues with dad develop, she would tell me, you're going to want to not use a straw if he is struggling with a straw and choking because of that, or because it depends on the person. And some people actually need a straw. Others, it actually makes it worse for them. So you have to, that's where that speech pathology and the speech therapists are so good at determining that. So also tucking your chin is actually one of the things that she recommended, and being very slow with eating, not trying to rush it. My dad was always the type of person who's, he wants it right now. So he'd stuff it in his face, then have to slow him down. Cutting things into smaller bites, covering things in gravy, and really utilizing stuff like that in order to help it go down. She found us like assistive devices, like special weighted spoons and forks to help, and special cups that you can find online. And there's just a ton of little tips and tricks that she gave. Things with his tongue, like practicing things with his tongue to make sure that he's not pushing food out or he's not pushing it down where it's not supposed to be. Taking sips with your food is really important. But yeah, she just gave us a ton of tips and tricks that really helped us with everything, because my dad sure loved to eat. So we didn't want him to give that up.
Sure. So you did talk about gravies and things like that. Did you use any of like thickener products or anything for his fluids or any like of those type of products?
No. And the reason is because my aunt told us this little trick that sodas are actually very similar to the thicker liquids, and you can actually drink a soda a lot easier than you can water. So if you do like the carbonated water or something like that, it's actually easier for somebody to drink because it's going to work the same way. So my dad was able to still drink his Diet Mountain Dews for that reason.
Very good. Did you ever have any trouble with your dad with holding weight on? Did he lose weight towards the end of his life?
He did. He started wasting, and he was hungry all the time right at the end. And we really just had to slow him down. Like, we didn't want him to stop eating. At that point, we were like, okay, you can eat whatever you want, because we wanted him to keep weight on. But we really used ice cream for medications, pudding. We used a lot of pudding for medications and applesauce. He was very particular about what he would take with his medications, and he loved sweets. So whenever we could use that to get food in him, one of the other things that you can buy, like the protein mixes, like when you make a smoothie or something, and you can actually put that in foods to help with getting some of that protein in there and some of the other vitamins and minerals. And so we like to do smoothies when we could, or we would add it to like ice cream or whatever in order to get some nutrients.
That's a smart additive because a lot of those are not, or they are flavorless. So then you can add in the extra calories and proteins and all of the et ceteras to pump that up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. With my brother, we are using a lot of the pudding ice creams right now with meds. So it's a familiar time frame of the progression of swallowing and just the need to get some more calories in. And if it's in between meals and you're taking meds, you might as well throw in an extra cup of pudding. So that's a really great idea to share. Thanks, Lauren.
Yeah. The other thing that we did to help with medications, I'm sure that you crush up medications, but if for those who don't know, there is a thing out there called a pill crusher, and you can crush it up into really small bits, and then you can't even taste it in the pudding. So that was our best friend in getting medications. But my dad did have to take liquid medications as well, so that's another thing to remember. There are a lot of liquid alternatives to medications, so if you're at a point where swallowing is a problem, reach out to your pharmacist and see if you can get the liquid version.
Would you like to add anything before we wrap the show up, Lauren? Thank you for all these ideas. These are huge, and I'm glad we got a little bit into medication. We weren't planning on that, but that's perfect. I'm so glad we did. We have to think about that more, about medication and swallowing. It's not just eating and weight. It's
if there are other conditions going on, such as if your loved one is on dialysis, like those things affect it. And so you have to think about those types of pills on top of everything else. But if you're looking for whether or not risperidone has a liquid, it does. And it's a lifesaver to be able to use that instead of having to crush up a pill or force something, because you don't even have to think about it. Like, we had syringes ready. Here you go, Dad. All done. No problems. He drank his diet milk. He was good. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you, Lauren, always for coming on and giving great tips that you've learned along the way, caregiving your father. We so appreciate it. And so I think that will do it for today. Everyone, please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel below, and ring the bell for notifications when more videos like this come out. Until next time.